we discover the no fluff action steps to help you avoid all the overwhelm and all the BS out there, connecting you with the right mentors, resources, and tools, helping you every step of the way on your entrepreneurial journey. We go live here twice a week, interviewing different entrepreneurs and experts on all areas of business. So make sure to join our Facebook group and look out for the events inside your entrepreneur resources page. You can find all the links in the description box. Our guest for today is Neha Naik. How are you doing today?
Hey, Denise, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you're super busy, so I'm super excited to chat with you and get all the tips and action steps from you.
I
So,
love it. I'm always excited to be here, never too busy to make time.
yay, perfect. So Neha is now a full-time business owner and she runs those while raising two toddlers. She's an expert in career planning and recruitment, a certified sleep consultant, and mom entrepreneurship coach, mentoring moms with young children on how to start a business to create better work-life balance. She helps moms who dream of starting a business, takes them by the hand and walks them through all the steps of their new business. In this interview with Neha, we're going to be talking about scaling your business by investing in team growth. Super, super great topic. I'm so excited to dive in. But before we do that, do you mind tell us a little bit more about you and your business?
Of course. So, hi, everyone. Thank you again so much for tuning in. Thanks again for having me, Venice. So, like I said, Venice described it so aptly and nicely. I am a four-time business owner. I started my first business mainly because I was sick of the politics at my 9 to 5, and that really gave birth to my recruiting agency. From there, I started the pediatric sleep consultancy because I became a mom and I knew the importance of healthy sleep hygiene in your toddlers and even infants. And that's so needed, especially when we're trying to balance so many different roles in our society today. And then from there, I started a data analytics agency, which is Triad Partners. So I help companies streamline their data so that they know, where money's going and, how they can just make sure that they set themselves up for success operationally. And then finally, I am launching a group coaching program, in October, actually. And that is going to be about taking moms who want to leave their 9 to 5 and they want to start their own journey, but they don't know how to start. We really look at your strengths and weaknesses and dissect them so that you know what you can, account on, but then also what it is that's something that you might need to outsource or develop. So the topic today is very apt.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think it's so important. It's really hard, I think, in the beginning for entrepreneurs or for any kind of business owners to let go a little bit and start outsourcing and start hiring people. So, what was your experience like when it comes to team growth?
Yeah. So, before I started my business, I am a recruiter. That's my
Mhm.
primary bread and butter income right now. And team growth to me, when I was working for somebody else, didn't really hold a ton of value. Now that I'm hiring for myself, I understand how important it is to really vet people that you talk to, really have a really welcoming process for them from the minute they speak to you. And even if they were to not be hired by you, or if they were to be hired by you, all those touch points are really easy, really, really important. And I think one of the things I am really big on is just team culture and growth culture within. So I'm really big on talking to people about how they're going to grow in my company and what, how we're going to use their skill set, because I do want to make everybody feel special. We all have our strengths and weaknesses, right? Like I have my strengths, but I'm also weak at quite a bit of things. And I have a great team that supports me because that's their strength. And so I leave it up to them to kind of, uplift me in that. I've worked with and consulted with a lot of companies and CEOs who don't really believe in team culture. They don't believe in appreciation, rewards, bonuses. And I can tell you right now, it's time to rethink how you do things, because it's definitely a candidate's market. And you want to make sure that people that work for you are motivated to be there. They want to stay there. They want to continue to be with you, because we spend so much time onboarding them and providing them with the resource to succeed. And if they just leave, it sucks, right? Because then
Yeah.
we have to start over again. So to me, that's really my outlook on it.
Oh no, that's absolutely amazing. The team culture and team bonding building, like, having that, sharing the vision even. It's not something that you can achieve overnight, right? But it probably takes a lot of time and a lot of like investment, time, energy. And I'm really interested to dive a little bit deeper into that. But before we do that, so I would like to know who was like the first person you hired onto your team, or which business even was the first person that you hired someone for?
Yeah, great question. So the first person I hired for my business personally was a copywriter.
Mhm.
That is something I've struggled with, not because I don't write well. And obviously, I don't write copy. I don't write landing pages or sales pages, and also because I was just so focused on business development and getting the clients in. I just didn't have the time, with the two young kids, to outsource. But let me tell you this: my first hire was the hardest hire for me because it was me letting go of control. And as an entrepreneur, that's so hard to do. We've all, I'm sure Venice, you've been there too, when you're like, I think I can do it all, but you can't. You can't do it all. Please accept that reality sooner than later. Don't burn yourself out. So when I started realizing that I'm working, 50-hour days because I have to work on my website and my social media, and then also like reach out to clients and get on client calls and do discovery calls. And then I had, sick kids and, everything that was going on. And my toddler would forget school lunch or whatever. Like there's so much stuff that happens, when you have kids, but even otherwise. And I realized like, nope, I need to outsource this person. And then the second person I, hired is a VA because I just really needed someone to keep track of my inbox, make sure that my invoices were getting paid. I noticed that there was a lag between the work delivered and the invoices, which happens to so many of us, unfortunately, because we're just doing so much all the time. So that was the second person I hired. And honestly, like since then, my team is now almost to a 30, and I'm just so happy that it's gotten there. And it's, the first few hires are going to be the hardest because it's you relinquishing control. A lot of times we become entrepreneurs so that we don't have to do that. But honestly, you are not going to be able to scale unless you hire. So please do it. Figure out your weakness and hire it out.
I have a quick question. I love everything you just talked about. I have a quick question. What's the difference to you when it comes to hiring a freelancer and growing your team? Because, obviously you can hire someone on a contract base to help you with a certain project or certain, like little things that you have here and there. But what's the difference between having someone on your team versus hiring a freelancer?
Yep. So I think when you hire a freelancer, you can't put them in like a certain schedule, right? Like that you can't make things mandatory. They're a consultant. When you hire someone for your team in-house, you have a little bit more of a say. I feel like you can tell them more, give them more projects. There's less issues of confidentiality or NDAs being violated. And I think, I have freelancers and I have full-time workers, and then there's pros and cons to both, right? But I think those are the two main differences. And for me, as I scale, I encourage people who are freelancers to have their own businesses, but I am very strict on my NDAs and I expect a certain amount. Now, I don't micromanage, but I also know that, as a freelancer, you are a free agent. And that's okay. That's totally okay, as long as I set those boundaries.
And I guess like your copywriter, was it a freelancer or did the person also was a person part of the team as well?
Correct. I think my first 6 or 7 hires were freelancers actually before because I couldn't afford to, give them a salary and all that. And I was still growing.
Yeah. And that is such a great point because a lot of people, they think that when it comes to outsourcing and hiring and, growing and delegating, it means having a contract and saying, okay, I'll pay for your salary for the rest of your life. But it doesn't have to be that way. There's also
Nope.
freelancers or like contract-based work, and there are just so many options and there are things for everybody. You mentioned a
Right.
little bit about this earlier on, but how and when do you know it's time to start investing into team growth and start outsourcing to different people?
Yeah, for sure. Hold on 1 second, okay?
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
no worries.
My toddler just got home from school. Could you repeat that question, please?
Yeah, how and when do you think it's the right time? Like how do we know when it's the right time to start investing into team growth, and how do we go about it?
If you feel like you are drowning, and if you feel like you are doing too much, and if you as a CEO should really be like that big picture visionary, right? Someone who can jump in and do business development and have client calls. If you feel like you are doing stuff that is not in that bucket, and then you're like, oh, I don't really want to do financial analysis, or I don't want to do my own taxes, or I'm getting bombarded with a lot of email responses right now, I just don't have the time to respond to everybody like in a nice way. That's when you should hire. For me, my kind of turning point was when I realized that I was spending way more time on my businesses than I was with my family. And I was like, okay, it's a reality check. Like, they're only kids for so long. I need to step away. And that's really when I started investing in people to grow my business. And, I think a lot of hesitations that a lot of entrepreneurs have is that, oh, well, I can't afford that. I can't afford that. It is, the truth of the matter is you mostly can. If you are getting to the point where you're getting burned out on client calls, you have enough clients, right? And let me tell you, I did not start seeing massive growth until my company reached the size of 10, because I was able to take on more and I was able to delegate more, right? So, Amazon is owned by Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos isn't the one that delivers your Amazon boxes every day, right? But there is an infrastructure, right? So that's so important to let go of that control and let people who are good at what they do step into their power and, not only appreciate them, but empower them to do it, because they're doing it for you. And you can still be, involved in meetings and be where you're needed, but learn to step out and step away when you're not needed, because they know, when you hire people, they're going to know what they're doing. And so you kind of getting in every step of the way, it's going to be really hard.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I cannot agree with that more. Honestly, like me as well, when I was first, I just want to like chime in here with a little bit of a story.
Of
But
course.
when I was running my events, I thought, yes, I have to do everything myself. I have to do, like design everything myself. I have to do all the flyers, go even find like a printing shop, like everything. I have to do everything. And I realized that I was making so many mistakes because there's no way for me, myself, just to go and do everything and get everything done. So then I started delegating and outsourcing. And I realized, you know what? It's so much easier. I can kind of just sit here, not just sit here, but, sit back a little bit, allow other people to take over so I can look into the details and making sure no mistakes are made. So that to me was so important.
I completely agree. It's the best feeling ever.
Yeah. So for you, like you've hired so many people. You have 30 people on your team right now. How do you go about finding the right candidates for your different tasks that you have and different roles that you have?
Yeah. So when I first was doing it, it was all me, right? Like, I was looking for people, I was reaching out to people, I was having conversations. Right now, I have an awesome team that does the hiring for me. I have a director of operations. So she will, we look at what's coming up in terms of client load with each business. We figure out like, oh, we need another VA here, we need another recruiter here, we need an admin person here, whatever that kind of flow looks like. So we map it out on a quarterly basis. And then we kind of put together a job description that's appealing to candidates. And then we start reaching out to candidates and actually, start having conversations. I think that's the best part of doing it. And, emails are great, but I think it's important to talk to people on Zoom. I think it's important to have that face-to-face and show people that you're a real person. You're not just some random CEO, in the middle of nowhere, in a big tall office. Like, I think that's such an outdated theory now, right? There's so much to be said about open door policies and flat hierarchies. And I'm a really big believer in that. So while my team does a few rounds of interviews, I always like to personally talk to the people I'm welcoming onto the team, even if it's a 20-minute, hey, this is just a formality. How are you? Where do you live? Tell me about your family. What's your favorite ice cream? Like, just having those conversations so they know like, okay, this is the person I'm really working for. But then they're going to be more closely integrated with the team and not have the day-to-day with me as much.
Absolutely. And I guess you have an onboarding system where you have, get them to understand the team culture and everything, right?
Yep. So we just created last week a welcome packet. We've been working on it for a while. So my director of operations created that. We have a team directory. It has everyone's pictures, where they're located, fun facts about us and what we love and what we hate and all that fun stuff on there as well. And then we do a call once a month where we get together, we huddle, we have all hands on deck meetings. We talk about exciting stuff that's coming up on the pipeline. What are some of the struggles we've seen? And, we also do promotions every quarter and raises as well.
Oh gosh, this sounds like so much fun. Like, honestly, this is like we talked a little bit about team culture earlier on, and I feel like everything you just talked about really help your new or even old people that have been in the team for a long time to really immerse themselves in the team culture and bond with the fellow people, even if it's remote. I don't know if it's everyone's remote, but even if they are, they can still feel like they're part of the team and they can share the vision, right?
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Everyone's remote, and we really believe in like a week, monthly cadences, and we have Slack channels, and we really make ourselves available when they need it.
Mhm. Do you have any tips for us regarding how to kind of make sure that everyone share the same vision, everything's aligned, and building that culture, building the team bonding experience so everyone, like feel like they belong in the company?
Yeah, I think the number one is first you have to really get, clear on what you're trying to accomplish as a company. What's your mission? What's your vision? What are your values? I just built that out with my DO, and that's been an amazing experience. And I think after that, having a welcome packet to welcome team members to your team, having a process of onboarding, having touch points are so important, whether it's every week for the first month with their direct report and, kind of making them feel welcome and, answering any questions that they have. Kind of going through that is, I think, important enough. And again, being on Slack or any project management tools where they have visibility to you, they have access to you, and really not not or being open, rather, like I was going to say not being closed up, but being open to questions that may come up, right? So if there's a question that nobody can answer but you, like, step in and answer. Don't be a bottleneck, right? When people are new, they're bound to have questions. We've all been there when we're new at a job and we're like, like, great, what do I do? Where do I go? Like, what's going on? Be that CEO that can step in and, even though that's something that your manager is supposed to do, but she's out of office, like, just be available, be visible, be open, and just create that culture of like, hey, I'm still here. I may be the CEO, but I can still answer your questions and give you all the information so that you feel comfortable.
Absolutely. I love that. I think it's very important to like that personal touch, no matter how big I mean, it's difficult because you have 30 people, right? That's a very nice size team. And even if it's 30 people, maybe 50 people, it's very important to have that one-on-one. Even if it's just one person, like even if you just have one VA, it's important to let them in, like touch base with them, making sure they're happy, not happy per se, but making sure that they're doing their work, they don't have any questions, they're feeling comfortable. I think that's definitely super important. And I know that you help mom entrepreneurs, and you are a mom yourself. You're a super busy mom. Do you have any tips for mom entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs that's struggling right now, that's like, okay, maybe I should outsource, maybe I should hire a VA? Like, what's the first step do you think that they should take when it comes to considering hiring and outsourcing?
Yeah, I would say if you're considering it, it's probably the right time to do it. There's a reason why you're considering it. And then number two, figure out what the hesitation is. Is it the cost? Is it the control factor? Is it the trust factor? There's so many things that going into hiring, especially for your own team. Figure out what those are, and once you figure that out, that will really solve a lot of your problems, right? So if it's a cost factor, reach out to your accountant or do some calculations and figure out, like, maybe they don't have to work 20 hours. Maybe they can start off at 5 hours a week and scale up as you get more clients, right? If it's a control factor, maybe have them do a test project to kind of make sure that they get what you're doing and they align with your vision. If it's a trust factor, check in more often than not. Maybe have, twice a week check in if you're not sure, right? I think scaling and hiring, it definitely requires all those three, right? Like, you need to be able to give up control, you need to be able to pay for them, and you need to be able to trust that person. And so really figure out which bucket you're in, and it could be multiple buckets, it could be trust and finances, right? But really work your way backwards and reverse engineer that train of thought and figure out what your weakness is. And then, if you need, any guidance, I'm happy to help. So you're more than happy to reach out to me, and I can definitely answer those questions as well.
Yeah, on that note, I would love for you to share a little bit more about your program. So exciting. You've got your program coming up in October, you said?
Yep. So I have a group coaching program launching. I think it's October 10th. I should know the date, but
Oh,
it's like
that's
the
my
second Monday of
birthday.
October. And I'm really excited because it's going to be different. It's going to really be looking at, your skill set matrix, looking at what you're doing, you're strong at, what you're not good at, and aligning that with what makes for a successful entrepreneur, and how you can take your weaknesses and partner up with somebody within the coaching cohort and then work together. And then maybe even form business partnerships or become each other's clients. But it's very much a collaborative type program. It's very much a motivator. I want to call it the 8-week incubator, where we kind of meet, we greet, we talk through our pain points. We're going to have a lot of resources, a lot of, value add, and a lot of, worksheets for you to do together, but also separately, so that you can come together and just really grow your business, but also know what direction to go in.
Mhm. Absolutely. That sounds incredible. Where can people connect with you online and find you and find out more about your program?
Yep. If you go to nehanaik.com, you can see all my businesses. You can see all that. We're going to, update the copy on the coaching and all that stuff as well in the next week or two. But yeah, you can definitely find us on there.
Perfect. And any social media platforms where people can DM you
Yep.
and connect with you?
Yep, I'm on Facebook. So if you just look up Neha Naik, I'm on Facebook, and then same on LinkedIn. And then you can find me on my website, my recruiting website, which is Recruit Gyan. So it's RECRUIT, Recruit Gyan, GYAN.com. And Gyan means knowledge in Sanskrit. So that's why I have that.
Ooh, I love that. That's amazing. Thank you so much for being on your Entrepreneur Resources show. I love all these tips and strategies. I love outsourcing. Honestly, I feel like we can talk about it all day, every day. For entrepreneur that's listening right now, in case you want to get a summary of the interview, make sure to check out our show notes, which I'll link in the description box. We have our live interviews with experts here twice a week, so make sure to stay tuned and join our community. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you everyone for tuning in.